It's kind of crazy when you think about it, you know? We've been staring up at the sun forever, trying to figure out how it
Ah,
works. And
yeah.
now we're trying to build one down here. Like on Earth, I mean, nuclear fusion, building our own little sun. That's just
It
wild.
does feel like sci-fi, doesn't it?
Totally.
But, and this is a big but, the potential is huge. Clean energy,
Uh-huh.
space travel faster than we can imagine now.
Okay.
And maybe even, get this, maybe even helping to treat things like cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So it's not all just spaceships and stuff.
not at all. But the spaceships would be pretty cool, though.
True. Okay, so where are we at with all this right now?
Well, China's actually making some pretty amazing progress.
Really?
Yeah, with their artificial sun reactor. I mean, they're breaking records left and right.
Yeah.
It's basically kicked off a global race
A race for what?
for fusion.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the first to really master it.
Fusion dominance. I like it. Okay, so that's what we're diving into today, this whole fusion thing.
That's the plan. So first things first,
Yeah.
we got to understand what nuclear fusion actually is.
Right. Because I get that it powers the sun, but like, how would you explain it to someone who maybe hasn't been studying physics textbooks, you know?
Well, the simplest way to put it is you take atoms, tiny little things, and you smash them together.
Yeah.
You smash them together so hard they actually fuse, they combine into a new element.
Okay.
And that releases a crazy, crazy amount of energy.
So is it like the opposite of splitting an atom?
It's a little more complicated than that.
For sure.
Yeah, but you've got the basic idea, right? It's
Right.
about messing with atoms on a tiny, tiny scale.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Now, here's the amazing part. Fusion releases, get this, millions of times more energy than burning, like coal or oil.
Wow.
Millions. And this is key. It doesn't make any greenhouse gases or any of that nasty radioactive waste we've got to deal with now. It's like super clean energy.
Sounds too good to be true. So why aren't we all driving fusion cars already? What's the catch?
There are a few catches, actually.
Oh,
The biggest one, well, to make fusion happen, you need heat.
heat. Sure.
A lot of heat. More heat than you can imagine.
Like, how much heat are we talking about here?
More than the core of the sun.
Yeah.
Millions of degrees Celsius.
Millions. Whoa. Okay, so how do you even, how do you contain something that hot? It's not like we can just build a giant oven or something.
Not a regular oven, no. This is where things get really tricky. You need super powerful magnets and special reactors.
Special reactors, huh?
Yeah, they're called tokamaks.
Tokamaks. Okay. What are those, like some kind of sci-fi thing?
Well, kinda. Picture this. You're trying to bottle lightning, but you're using magnetic fields to do it. That's basically what a tokamak is doing. It's using these fields to hold and heat this super hot gas. It's called plasma, so it can, do its fusion thing.
All right, now we're talking. This is where China comes in, right? With their artificial sun.
Bingo. Their tokamak is this, like, giant metal donut.
A metal donut. I'm trying to picture this.
Right. And they've gotten it up to, get this, 100 million degrees Celsius.
100 million. Okay, I need some context here. What does that even mean? Is that like all the ovens in the world turned on at once?
Think of it this way. 70,000 ovens,
Yeah.
all blasting away at their highest setting for like 7 minutes straight. All that heat in one place.
Okay, that's a lot of heat. So they're basically recreating the sun, but like inside a donut.
In a way, yeah. It's super impressive, like a huge step forward. But, and it's a big but, even keeping those temperatures going for a little while.
Yeah.
That's a huge, huge challenge. We're still a long way off from, plugging our houses into fusion power.
Right, right. So while this is huge news, it's not like we're all going to be running on fusion tomorrow.
Nope, not quite yet. But it does make you wonder, right?
About what?
Why is everyone so obsessed with getting this to work? If it's so hard, why are countries pouring billions into it?
Yeah, good question. What's the prize at the end of this race?
Well, imagine this. The country that cracks fusion first. They basically control a near limitless source of clean energy.
Okay.
That means economic power, political influence, the whole 9 yards. It's like winning the lottery of geopolitics.
Whoa. So it's not just about saving the planet, it's about who gets to be in charge.
You got it.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. We've got clean energy, global competition, maybe even a whole new world order. This is some serious stuff.
It definitely is.
But hold on, before we go any further down this rabbit hole, I guess, maybe we should step back and really imagine what a fusion-powered future would actually look like.
Good idea. Let's explore the possibilities, the good and the bad, and what it could mean for everything from our everyday lives to, well, the fate of the planet.
So we've talked about how fusion could, like, totally change the energy industry, but what does that actually look like? Like, are we talking flying cars and stuff, or is it a little more, down to earth?
Well, I can't promise teleportation just yet.
Okay, good to know.
But the possibilities are still pretty amazing. Imagine, like, every house, every business running on clean energy.
Yeah.
No more fossil fuels. No more pollution.
It sounds great, but I don't know, some people might say it's all just a dream. Like, can we really scale fusion up that much? Can it really power the whole world?
It's a huge challenge, for
Yeah.
sure. No doubt about that. But you got to think about the sheer power of this stuff. Like, a tiny amount of fusion fuel, we're talking grams, has the same energy as tons and tons of coal.
Seriously.
Yeah, the energy density is just mind-blowing.
So, like, you could power a city with, what, a handful of this stuff?
Basically, yeah. And it's clean, remember. No greenhouse gases, no nasty waste to deal with.
So it's not just about cleaner energy, it's about, like, a totally different kind of energy.
It's about a sustainable future. That's what's so exciting about this. It's not just a Band-Aid, it's a whole new way of doing things.
Okay, I get it. But let's talk practical stuff. We've talked about electricity, but what else can fusion do? Like, what other areas could it change?
Well, think about transportation. Like, fusion-powered planes that could fly super fast, cutting travel time way down. Or even, get this, fusion-powered spaceships.
Spaceships. Okay, now we're back to sci-fi.
It's not as crazy as it sounds. I mean, if we can build a mini-sun, who knows what else is possible? And think about industries like manufacturing. Fusion could create totally new materials with properties we can't even imagine right now.
So we're talking like a whole tech revolution.
Yeah, potentially. It could be like the internet, but for energy. A complete game changer.
All right, I'm on board. Fusion sounds amazing, but I know there's got to be a but coming here. Every rose has its thorns and all that. Like, what are the downsides, the risks?
Yeah, you're right. It's important to talk about that. Like any powerful technology, fusion needs to be developed carefully. The risks are real.
Like what? What are we talking about here?
Well, there's always the chance of accidents.
Accidents.
Yeah, like a reactor meltdown. It's unlikely, but if it happened, the energy release would be enormous.
Yikes. Okay, so we'd need some serious safety measures in place, right? Even more than with, like, regular nuclear power plants.
Absolutely. We're dealing with forces and temperatures that are just, well, unheard of. So safety has to be the top priority. And then there's the question of weapons.
Weapons. Wait, you're saying fusion could be used for weapons?
It's something we have to think about. The technology, even though it doesn't make the same kind of nuclear waste, it could be used for, well, not so peaceful purposes. That's why we need global cooperation, clear rules, all of that.
Yeah, that's scary. We've seen what happens when powerful technology gets into the wrong hands. So are we talking about, like, a fusion arms race?
It's a possibility. We can't ignore that. We need to be smart about how we develop and control this technology. It's not just about science. It's about ethics, geopolitics, all of that.
This is heavy stuff. So basically, fusion gives us these amazing opportunities, but it also comes with some pretty terrifying risks, too.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like we're at a crossroads. The choices we make now, they could determine the future of everything.
Wow. So it's not just about whether we can make fusion work, it's about what we do with it.
Exactly. Research development, international cooperation, all of it matters. We need to get this right.
Okay, if this is a lot to process, let's bring it back to what's happening right now. We talked about China, their progress, this whole race for fusion. How does that fit into all this?
Well, China's breakthrough, it's a big deal. No doubt about it. They're showing everyone they're serious about fusion. But it's not a simple race, It's not just about who gets there first.
So it's more complicated than that.
It's about the science, yeah. But it's also about, like we said, responsibility, cooperation, making sure this benefits everyone, not just one country.
So it's not enough to just make fusion work. We have to figure out how to use it wisely.
You got it. We have to think about the ethics, the politics, the long-term impacts. It's a global challenge, not just a scientific one.
This has been really eye-opening. It's clear that fusion is about way more than just, like, building a better power plant. It's about the future of humanity, really.
I agree. It's a challenge that forces us to think bigger, beyond our own borders, about the planet, about future generations. It's a lot to take in, for sure.
Yeah, it is. But I think I'm starting to understand what's at stake here. We've talked about the science, the benefits, the risks, the whole global picture. What are, like, the key things you want listeners to remember from all this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is fusion is a game changer. It really could be. It could solve some of our biggest problems, but it also comes with new problems, new risks.
So it's not a magic solution, but it's a powerful tool.
Exactly. And we have to use it carefully, responsibly. That's the key.
Yeah.
We have to make sure it benefits everyone.
Okay, so lots to think about. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, maybe we should just take a moment to appreciate how far we've come. I mean, fusion used to be just an idea, and now we're actually getting close to making it real.
It is pretty incredible, isn't it? It shows what we could do when we put our minds to it.
It does. I'm feeling, I don't know, optimistic, but also a little overwhelmed by all this. Maybe we should take a break, come back, and then wrap things up.
Sounds good to me. We can look at some of the specific projects happening right now and talk about what the future might hold for fusion.
All right, so before we got sidetracked there, we were talking about how fusion isn't just some far-off fantasy anymore. It's, really happening.
Right, yeah. We're getting closer and closer.
But there's still, a ton to figure out.
Absolutely. From, like we said, the ethical stuff to who controls it all. And then on top of that, the science itself is still mind-blowing.
Totally. So maybe we can get into some of the actual projects that are, happening right now, the ones that are really pushing the limits of what's possible with fusion.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Perfect.
Yep.
So what are the most promising ways people are trying to make fusion happen? What are the big approaches?
Well, you've probably heard of ITER, right?
ITER? Yeah, I think so.
The International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor.
Okay. Yeah, it rings a bell.
It's this huge collaboration, 35 countries working together, and they're building it in France.
Oh, yeah. ITER. That's the giant science project everyone's talking about. It's massive, right?
It is. And it's based on that Tokamak design we were talking about before, that donut-shaped reactor.
Right. The donut with the magnets.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they're hoping to achieve, get this, ignition.
Ignition. Okay, I need a refresher. What is that again?
So ignition is like the holy grail of fusion research. It's when the fusion reaction starts making more energy than it takes to run it.
Oh, wow. So, it's self-sustaining.
Exactly, like a fire that just keeps burning on its own.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to get ignition sometime in the 2030s.
So ITER is basically one giant experiment to see if we can create a mini-sun that's also self-sustaining.
You got it. And like I said, it's massive. This thing's going to weigh 23,000 tons. That's heavier than the Eiffel Tower, 3 times heavier.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting a sense of the scale here. But ITER isn't the only game in town, right? What other ways are people trying to crack fusion?
There are a bunch, yeah. One that's getting a lot of buzz is called inertial confinement fusion.
Inertial confinement?
So instead of magnets, this one uses lasers. Powerful lasers.
Lasers. Okay.
They blast these tiny pellets of fuel, and it creates this miniature implosion, like a tiny, tiny hydrogen bomb, but controlled, obviously, and that triggers the fusion.
Controlled hydrogen bombs, lasers. This is getting wild.
It's pretty cutting-edge stuff. And there's a place in the U.S., the National Ignition Facility, NEF. They're one of the leaders in this approach.
So we've got these giant team efforts like ITER and then these more focused projects like NIF. It seems there are a lot of paths to get to fusion.
Yeah, there are. And that's part of what makes it so exciting. It's not just one way. It's about trying different things, pushing the limits of what we know.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say, hypothetically, someone, somewhere, figures it out. They get ignition, they crack the code. What happens then? How do we go from a lab experiment to, actual fusion power plants?
That's the billion-dollar question, literally. Figuring out how to scale this up, how to make it work in the real world, that's the next big hurdle. And it's going to take some serious engineering, new technology, the whole shebang.
So it's not just about making a bigger tokamak or, a more powerful laser.
Nope, it's way more than that. We need materials that can handle those crazy temperatures, the radiation inside the reactor. We need to figure out how to make the fuel efficiently, how to make the whole system affordable, reliable. It's a huge challenge.
Wow, okay, so even if we get ignition, there's still a long way to go. But let's think big picture for a second. What would it mean for the world if fusion actually worked? Really worked?
It would be revolutionary. Imagine no more fossil fuels. Imagine countries not fighting over oil and gas anymore.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Fusion could change everything, the whole geopolitical landscape. It's not just about energy, it's about peace, stability. It's huge.
So it's about clean energy, but it's also about, a safer world, a more just world.
That's exactly it. It's about creating a world that's sustainable, fair, where everyone has access to the energy they need. That's why this is so important. It's not just science, it's the future of humanity, really.
Okay, I'm definitely a believer now. It's amazing to think about all the potential, and, it's inspiring to see all these smart people working on it, trying to make it happen.
It really is. It shows what we can achieve when we work together.
It does, and it gives me hope, honestly. It's a long road ahead, but like you said, it's a road worth taking.
I agree.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up. Fusion might not be the answer to everything, but it's a huge step in the right direction, a step towards a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a challenge, for sure, but it's a challenge that's worth taking on.
Absolutely. So, to everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has given you, I don't know, a better understanding of what fusion is, why it matters, and what's at stake. It's complicated, but it's worth paying attention to. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and we'll see you next time.